Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Michael, and this is going to be part 2 of how I made my Doctor Strange costume. And so once the clothes and the shoes and the hair and the scarring and everything else is on, this is the point that I'll put on the Cloak of Levitation. Now, this cloak, this cloak has brought so much joy and so much pain, so much. It's very detailed. There's not a straight line on it. There's a lot of details on it that I'm excited to take you through, but it's just, there's just a lot going on this cloak. So if you are going to be one of the brave people who want to take this on, Godspeed. I wish you well. I'm going to talk about how I made mine, and hopefully that can help you make yours someday if you wanted to. So the Cloak of Levitation is kind of its own character in the Doctor Strange movie. It is a magical cape that imbues Doctor Strange with the ability to fly, float around and fly. It is quite detailed. And it's kind of got a quirky personality, and helps protect him and kind of does things off on its own. It is a very quilted design, and so the way that I went about making mine was I first drafted it in muslin. Muslin is always my favorite way of drafting out a pattern and figuring out how a pattern works because it's very inexpensive. It's better, in my opinion, just my style, than working with paper. Some people like to really pattern their stuff out in paper. I like to do it in fabric so that I can actually sew it. It can drape like fabric. It can do things as actual fabric does, rather than paper and things that are maybe not as effective. So that's just my opinion and my style. So I drafted out a muslin, and then back to the replica prop forum, people had tried to figure out the design of the cape flat. That was the first thing I had to figure out is, if this is flat, what does it look like? Because like if you just hold it up and he's got it on his back, it looks something like this, and like, well, what is that? That's not anything. So I need to know what it looks like when it's flat and what all those pieces look like so that I can actually make this and pattern it out and sew it. So that's the first step. Is I did not use the McCall's pattern. If you want to use this, it's perfectly fine. If you want to go for something more screen accurate, I really wouldn't recommend it. It's basically just 4 big cape panels, and that's kind of it. That's really not how this cape is made. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that for the cape. So I did it on a big piece of muslin, then hand drew out the lines. There's not a straight line on it, and hand drew out the way that the lines work, and then used a ruler and drew out the quilted pieces. It is pretty much just a big quilt with no straight lines anywhere. It then has this big circular shoulder piece that rests on the shoulder here, that has its own decoration. And then there's the collar, which kind of the iconic Doctor Strange collar that stands up. It's asymmetrical in every sense of the word. It kind of comes more on the one shoulder than the other. It allows his right hand to be more free. The left hand is kind of draped under here. There are versions of the cape where when he's in action mode, it's actually tucked and pinned up here so that both of his hands can be free. There are versions of the cape that's just the collar because they CGI'd the rest of the cape in there, so the cape was doing things that real clothes can't do. It's just a really complicated costume piece, so it presented a lot of challenges to us. There's also the brooches. The brooches are here in the front. Those are 3D printed. Again, got those off of Thingiverse. People designed and shared those and then painted them gold and red. In the movie, the prop has the red parts are jeweled. They have a kind of a see-through jeweled thing to them. Again, I just painted them the way it kind of looked. So, as far as talking about the details of the cape, let's start with these edges. These edges here are covered in this kind of bird-shaped embroidery design. When you look at the pictures of the costume, they're probably hand embroidered because of that level of detail, and the colors aren't always the same. The reds, it's a darker red and a lighter red depending on where it is on the cape. And so basically what I did was I took different shades of red thread for my embroidery machine. The design I got off the replica prop forum, so that was really great. That again, a fantastic resource. So somebody shared their embroidery file on there, and so I used that and just kind of switched the red thread in my machine as I was going. I switched the bobbin thread. I also adjusted the tension so that some of the bobbin thread would actually come up into the design, which usually you don't want. Usually you don't want the bobbin thread on an embroidery because that's usually white thread, and you really don't want that to come up into your design. However, on this I really did want that additional color coming up through, so I actually adjusted the tension so that would happen on purpose. Counted out how many there were and just measured out the size so that it would work on both sides. There's also those embroidery pieces on the shoulder. So the shoulder also has embroidery along the bottom but not the top. So I did my best to get those going on the shoulder pieces there. The velvet which you can see, the velvet which is on here, which is on the shoulder piece and on the pieces in the back. So it's a pretty distinctive look because it's got these X shapes on it, these kind of indentions. I've seen a lot of people do a lot of different stuff for this. What I wanted to try out was actually creating stamps. So stamping the velvet and then steaming it so that the shape is pressed into the velvet. It's a pressed velvet shape. I wanted it to be more permanent. I wanted something, I've seen people paint the X's on there. Lots of different techniques and stuff out there. So the way that I did that was I took like ink stamping. Ink stamping, they sell like rubber, these aren't rubber erasers, but these are rubber stamps. So people who create stamps, they actually like carve out the shape of the stamp into this rubber stuff. Because my challenge with the stamping was I see people, okay, they make stamps and they'll like use leaves or something. They'll use a rubber stamp and steam to press the shape of the leaf into the velvet. So I'm like, okay, well, how do I get a custom made stamp to do that? Well, it's not out there, so I had to make it. So I wanted to use rubber because you're using steam, using hot stuff. You don't want to use it's not like something waxy that's going to melt into your fabric or anything. I needed something to resist it. So what I did was I through a lot of experimentation with sizing and everything, I just tried to look at the costume piece and then replicate that in these little stamps. So I cut out all of these by hand with an X-Acto blade and then super glued them onto this board, so this became my stamp. And then at the bottom pieces of the cape, you can see that they're actually larger stamps and the size changes as it goes down on the cloak. So for those pieces, before sewing them into the whole cape, before doing that, I made a larger set. So there are even pieces, let's see if we can find one, like this one here. You can see that it's the size actually changes in one single piece. And so I had to lay that piece of velvet down like this, and so lay the piece down across this shape of X's. So these became pretty versatile. Lots of just measuring and trying to make it as close and as symmetrical as possible. So the kind of the theory and the technique here is that you would lay the piece of velvet face down, so right side down, the fluffy side down on this. You want to use an iron kind of with a medium heat setting, and you don't want the steam holes to make any kind of difference. So as far as steaming it, you don't really want to steam it because the steam comes out of holes and it will disproportionately change the shape because some places will get more steam than others. So turn off the steam and then cover it with aluminum foil. Aluminum foil will make sure that you get an even distribution of heat across the entire piece. So I would lay the piece down onto this, press with the medium heat, just press, and then carefully peel the velvet off. And then you're left with that indentation there. There were quite a few pieces that I messed up and I got it wrong and I had to throw them away, and that was frustrating. But in the end, we have all of those pieces there that have that, and that's pretty much forever, unless it gets really rubbed or anything. They're going to be in there forever. Let's see, what else can we talk about? Let's talk about the shoulder piece. So the shoulder piece here, I believe there's a technical term for this, and you can put it in the comments below if you know it, but we called it braining because it looks like a brain. And so Haley did all of this by hand. All of this braining that is on these pieces here, she hand stitched it over several weeks, and just in her spare time, and hand stitched it just kind of in a random order. This isn't exactly like, we didn't look at the reference image, oh, it twists here and it turns there. We didn't really do that. We just tried to replicate the look as best we could, and I think she did a fantastic job. There's also red cording here. That's another screen accurate detail that you can observe going throughout these pieces. Again, completely asymmetrical. There's just no rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of all over the place. And with the shoulder piece here, this took quite a few patterning out. I had to do it in muslin about 3 or 4 times until I was happy with the shape, and it's a lot of work. There's a lot of details on here to fit my shoulder. So if I were, like, I have my pattern here, so this is actually my pattern for the cape, but this fits me. So if I were to try to digitize this and sell it, it might not fit you if you don't have my shoulder measurements. So it's a lot of experimentation. It's a lot of trying stuff out. It's a lot of buying trims, lots of different trims. The fuzzy bits were actually like kind of the selvages, the edges of the fabric. So this red fabric, this woven stuff, another upholstery store find. There were the ends of those were kind of frayed like this, and so I just cut off those and used those kind of as piping in between all of these layers, because as you can see in the prop or the screen costume, that's what it looks like. And then there are also pleats underneath the shoulder piece so that it can bring all that fullness kind of back to the back of the cape. So there are pleats there, so I tried to get that detail accurate. It was a lot. The cape, the collar of the cape, what we use to get that structure is actually this stuff, which is a product from So Much Cosplay, and we'll link that down below. This is called Superstructure Foam. And so you can see here the layers. So there's one layer of this inside the collar. So it's a foam that also acts as an interfacing. There's one side of glue on the underside of this, and so we cut out the shape of the collar and then ironed on this kind of foam interfacing onto the collar piece. And so this is a really great product. I highly recommend it. I have it in quite a few of my projects, and that's why I have a big piece of it here, because I'm going to definitely use it someday. So that is how I get the structure of my collar really firm and high. There's also a wire along the edge of the collar, so I just took a wire and hand looped the wire that goes all the way around the edge, so you can actually, like, of course the cape doesn't look like that, but so that I could maintain like a shape here, because his when the cape's on him, those lapels of the collar kind of do open up, so I wanted to be able to maintain that shape. So that's here. The inside, the lining, is another replica prop forum design. So somebody was kind enough to upload their lining to the replica prop forum, and then I had this printed on satin from Spoonflower. Spoonflower.com is a great website where you can actually get custom fabric created, and so it's kind of this hummingbird design that's all on the inside of the cape. And so I got several yards of this printed from Spoonflower to use as the lining. I have like this much of it left. I keep the scraps just because, you know, I might do something with it someday. The screen accurate one, or the one used in the movies, it does have a couple of patches on the inside. So I'm thinking one day I might go and kind of add some of the patches. It's the same fabric, but it's just kind of in a different orientation. So I might do that someday, but that's a kind of a detail that no one's going to see and only I would know, so I haven't done the effort to do that yet. As far as how it attaches on, I've seen lots of different Doctor Strange cosplayers use lots of different techniques to do this. Some use magnets, some use a harness underneath their tunic, which has a very strong magnet kind of attached to each side, and then they put magnets underneath the brooches. This cape is horrible because it only seems to touch him right here at the shoulders. There's no, like, there's nothing going on here, and it's just this huge heavy cape that it's held on by magic. It's just touching right there. I've seen people, they'll maybe put ties kind of on the inside of the cape and then tie it underneath their armpits into the back. Some people have done that. What we opted to do was to place hooks. So hook and eyes, hooks on my tunic. So I use a dark kind of gunmetal one that, so it's a little less obvious when you don't have the cape on, because I wanted to wear the tunic, you know, by itself, and wanted to leave the hooks on. So you might see them if you look for them, but for the most part you don't really notice them. And then when we got the cape on, which is heavy, I get that question a lot. Yes, it's heavy. Yes, it's hot. But when we get it on, I kind of hook it on there, and there we go. So that's kind of what it looks like. It looks a little different when it's actually on me, but yeah, we got that shape there where it opens up. And yeah, that is the costume. So this is everything that Haley and I worked on. So Haley and I worked a lot, very closely in getting all of this together. So Haley and I did most of this. I do have quite a few props that were made by my amazing friend Ian, who's at ESB SVS Studios. Doctor Strange has quite a few props and different items that I knew I wasn't going to be able to make, so I definitely want to use this time to feature his amazing props that he made for me. So the first one he made is going to be my Eye of Agamotto.
This Eye of Agamotto was designed from scratch and printed by EZB SVS Studios based on the film prop, with the opening and closing mechanism inspired by a design from Black Ram Industries. Black Ram's design is available for download on Thingiverse, and the link will be below.
Open up and has the green lit up infinity stone on the inside, and so I'll wear this just turned on, kind of so that people can see the glowing the glowing eye on there, and I think it looks amazing. I added the cord and the beading, not really trying to be screen accurate on there. I didn't really have any good reference pictures at the time. I have them now, which I'm about to show you in another prop, but so yeah, maybe an upgrade to that one of these days, but I think it looks pretty good on its own. And yeah, I just love walking around with this. People like we worked really hard on the costume, and Ian worked really hard on the props. I must say, when people walk past, they want to see the props more than anything. That's the thing they're most excited about. So I love it. I love this thing so much. I keep it on my shelf up there so that I can see it all the time. It's gorgeous, and I love it so much. But that's not even the most impressive version of this eye that Ian made for me. This is the 2.0 Eye of Agamotto that Ian made for me. So using kind of the same cover as this one, or at least very similar, as this one, but you can see that it is a bit chunkier, and that's because there is a very incredible robot basically inside this Eye of Agamotto so that it will open and close on its own. And so how we do this is the cord goes through underneath the back, so the cording is actually connects here at the top of the back, and threads down into the eye, and there is the battery pack, and then there's a button. So the button will actually go through my sleeve, and I'll keep it right there underneath my wrist cuff, right about there, so that I can press the button and kind of do the hand motions that go along with the opening and closing of the Eye of Agamotto. So the prop in the movie does not open and close. It's completely CGI. I really can't even begin to get into the process of how he did this. It's a really incredible thing, and it is one of a kind. So please don't ask him to buy it or anything. This is something that he just made for this project. But definitely go follow him on Instagram, because he shows amazing things that he posts in there. So let's give it an open. Ian made two other props for me that I bring to conventions to go with Doctor Strange. And so Doctor Strange does cast quite a few spells. The most frequent one is going to be like the spell disc that he uses as a shield and to do different stuff. And so what Ian did here for my spell disc, and it does turn on and has a green setting for the time spell when Doctor Strange is using the Eye of Agamotto to change time. It's kind of a green circle, and then it lights up orange for the kind of defensive spells that he does. And so this is done on a sheet of acrylic. Ian found the reference from the film to create the design on the outside, made a digital version of that, and then used a machine that takes a tiny drill bit and just goes in and cuts out the shape of everything. Since this is acrylic, that's plastic, and so he said that he went, I think, about 20 different drill bits because the plastic would keep balling up on the end of the thing. So he had to keep doing that. But I think it turned out really cool. I love having this at conventions, especially like at parties, because like it glows really bright in the dark, and at cons it's really cool to have like a flashy thing changing it back and forth colors. So I love this prop. And then the handle there is 3D printed and has a 9-volt battery on the inside and a switch so that I can turn it on and off really easily, and it's very comfortable in my hand. So that's one of my favorite props for this costume. And then the next one, which I've had behind me, is my Sword of Vishanti. So in the movie, when Doctor Strange is fighting Thanos, kind of for about 2 seconds, he summons this fire sword and then brings it down on Thanos, and Thanos kind of smashes it. When I was sitting in the theater watching the movie, Ian was with me and Haley, and I leaned over to him and said, I want that. I want that sword. I need that moment from the movie to be real. So Ian said okay, because he's amazing, and created this sword for me. And so again, using the same technique, the sheets of acrylic, it's 5 different sheets of acrylic that are layered together with very intricate designs, and then an LED strip going through it. The battery pack is on the inside of the handle, and then he used the kind of the Eye of Agamotto design to cut out that shape. So it's quite heavy, so I don't really like carrying it around all day, but it really looks amazing, especially at night. Whenever at conventions, everybody's got their lightsabers out. I've got my sword, or my sword of Vishanti. So really cool prop. I'm so grateful to Ian. He's such a blessing in my life, and not only an amazing person, but also just an incredible craftsman. And so very, very happy to have these items. So thank you so much for watching this cosplay breakdown of my Doctor Strange costume. I hope it's been helpful for you if you want to make your own Doctor Strange costume, or if you're just curious about how cosplayers go about making the things they make. It was a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite costumes I've ever made. I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of the items from Ian that I get to make. I'm very proud of Haley and Mai's hard work on this costume, and I'm hoping that when Multiverse of Madness comes out, either the cloak or the tunic, at least one stays the same, so I don't have to remake everything. But we'll see what happens when that movie comes out. Thank you again for watching. Give us a like if you've gotten this far. Ask any additional questions you have down below in the comments. I'm the Wizard Taylor on Instagram. I have a story highlight on there showing more of the process of how I made this, so check that out. Keep the magic alive, and we'll see you next time. Bye!